gonna ask you.
What else?
I don't know. You got a question for me, man? I've been asking all the questions.
Well, you're supposed to.
Such an asshole.
No, I mean, I don't have any right now, but baby's kids are getting ready to come in, so that's probably why. So I'm trying to make sure we get everything.
Yeah. Well, I guess I do got some more questions for you. So, what's the long-term, vision for Home Lending Pal? Where do you see the company at in 5 years?
Oh, I'm not shy at all of saying that I want to be the first African American man to build a fintech unicorn. I want to do 100 million in annual revenue, but I also want to help 1 million people get into homes, especially if that's 1 million African American people. That's even better. So I am not shy about that at all. I'm
I love it. Yeah,
it is what it is. But I think that when it comes to acquisitions or mergers, it will definitely have to be something that I feel benefits the people. I think that's the one thing that makes us unique, is that we've done this with people in mind. I mean, we're benefiting lenders, but I definitely think that this is something that people need. Again, it doesn't make sense that a home is the biggest purchase that you'll ever make, but yet it's the one purchase that you can't go easily do research. I mean, think about it. If you want to go buy a car, you can easily research everything you want to know about that car.
Right.
All the costs that are associated with that car before you jump into it. TV, pretty much anything else. But a home, it's like you can get so far, and it's like, oh, well, for you to know the rest of that, you have to actually submit an application. And it's just like, but why?
Get it inspected.
Right. Like, why would I submit an application if I know that I'm not ready or I'm not qualified yet? Like, that's counterintuitive. And in many cases, it actually hurts you because they're doing a hard credit pull. It hurts you because, that mark shows on your credit report. Whereas, in this scenario, what we're doing is we're making it where you can see all that, but there's no negative impact. So, but yeah, I would love to, be a unicorn. I want, a 1 million users, even better if it's 1 million active users where people are constantly logging on. And, we want, they say that right now, the average millennial spends about 6 hours conducting research before they go buying a house. So my goal from a usage standpoint is either to take up as much of that 6 hours as I can, or to reduce that 6 hours to a point where they're so qualified to the point where they're ready to go. Because it's crazy. You're spending 6 hours online researching, but yet I think the most recent study by CNBC showed that 68% of millennials regret buying their first home because they still didn't understand everything that was involved with the cost. So that means that you're spending 6 hours and you still don't have enough of the information personalized to a point where you feel comfortable. So I think if we're able to solve that problem, that puts us in a really great place. And, the rest is just
history. Yeah.
History.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, right? Where you learn a skill, now it started out taking you 40 hours and now you can do it in 10 hours.
Exactly. Like, that is definitely the case. And again, it's about, whether you're building a product for you, building a product for a company, is providing value. You don't, at least with us, you rarely hear us talking about money. I know I mentioned the revenue goal of 100 million in annual ARR, but an annual ARR just means annual revenue for anyone that
right
familiar with those type of terms. But I more want that just because that is a number that it has been said that minority founders aren't capable of doing. They aren't capable of achieving that. And it's funny because the guy that built Calendly, he had a lot of revenue coming in and still struggled to raise funds. So,
yep.
For me, it's not just about myself. It's also about changing the game for others behind me as well, which is why, again, that I am so vocal to the point, hopefully it's not detrimental to my own personal success. But again, I think that I've been given a little platform to speak and to have the gift of gab, if you will. So why not use it to not only benefit myself, but to also benefit others that look like me? And,
right.
I think it's unfortunate that, well, it's not unfortunate. You look at our community and even myself, growing up, success for us, and I challenge anyone to tell me 5 successful, like, millionaires that that are Black that aren't in entertainment. And most people struggle with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't. Yeah, yeah.
You're right. You struggle with it. So my goal is to hopefully get to a point where, you can see Black excellence. And when I say entertainment, I mean athletes, movie stars, rappers,
Singers,
singers,
yeah.
you know, they're all entertainers. You struggle, like, you know, the one of the biggest guys, actually the biggest Black billionaire, is a guy by the name of Robert Smith. And he's a hedge
Yep,
fund
heard of
man.
him.
You know, he's a hedge fund
Hmm.
man. And people only really knew who he was because when the African American Museum up in DC was built, he actually was the guy that came in and donated more than Oprah. And people were like, yo, who is this guy? You know,
I didn't know that.
and so that's why people knew, because before that, but again, you have this multi-billionaire that even himself for years was under the radar because again, you don't want to outshine the master. And you know, for him, it was just like, I'm Black, but you know, and I have a lot of money, but it's still not, like, he talked about his struggles as even with being a billionaire, that he was still wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? And so for years, it was just like, make
Mm,
don't show anyone who you are. Like, you know, they don't need to see my face. And I think that, you know, now we're getting to a point where our future depends on kids seeing the face and seeing that, you know, hey, I may not be the next LeBron James, but I I told one guy, you know, why not teach our kids not only just to want to be LeBron James? There's nothing wrong with that, but what about teaching our kids to want to be the guy that pays LeBron James? Like, what if I want to be Dan Gilbert? You know, that is
right.
so cool. You know, and it starts with us in having our kids believe that that's possible. So, you know,
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah,
be.
Robert Smith gave he paid off his alma maters that it was HBCU, the senior, he
Yeah,
paid off their debt. Yeah.
I don't even know if it was his alma mater. I just think like that year he donated like $50 million. He donated like 22 million to the National, the Historic Black Museum. Then he went and paid like $35 million worth of debt to a random HBCU. And it really, I don't even know if it was his alma mater. I think he just did it just because. Uh,
Mm,
but it's just imagine that, like, you know, how blessed those kids are because
right.
he literally wiped out all their debt. And for him, it was just 35 million, whatever.
35 cents.
And you know,
I'm all about $1. What's 50 cents?
right. And I study him a lot. You know, I think you have to study the people you want to be like. And, you know, he talks about one time that, you know, he lives in Texas, in Austin, actually. And I only know this because the building that he was working out of was actually when I went and worked for private equity. Um, my private equity group worked out of the same building. And he was, in one of his interviews and his stories, he talked about the fact that he was driving his car. I think it might have been, it probably was an exotic car, but he was driving the car and
Mm,
he was going to the airport. He got pulled over, and the cop was like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going to the airport." And the cop was like, "Oh, well, what time does your plane leave?" And I think he jokingly said, like, "Oh, well, whenever I get there, because I own the jet." And the cop didn't believe him. So you
wow.
know, it was just, you know, stuff like that. That's, you know, for guys like us, you know, that was really, that stuck out to me because, like, you know, that's the most asshole thing you can say, but you know, what can I say after that? So
Yeah.
but it still shows that, you know, even with all that money, you're still just, you know, a regular Black guy. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
Kanye said
Yeah.
it in a different way, but you know, I'm not going to say it the way Kanye said it. Kanye said it.
Yeah.